So we do not teach you how to rise to the occasion, teach you how to fall to your level of preparation. Solid 6 mile day today. Great 6 mile a day today because yesterday, you recall, knocked out a 10 miler, and it feels good to be able to go, again, 10 miler, then a 10K following day and feel as good as I feel now in terms of just, hey, if I wanted to, yes, I could have squeezed another 4 miles out of that one today. You can tell the air is officially lightened up for me. Football's back, and there's a lot to get to these days around the Move Swiftly world, all on the Move Swiftly platform. Right now, got to address. Let me get into it. Let me jump into this viral clip. Once again, Mr. Ryan Clark is in the news for saying something that was quote unquote controversial and having to apologize for some controversial thing he said, which many times I've come out and I haven't defended him per se, especially with the RG3 stuff and a lot of the stuff that he does. I do agree when some people who do call him a race baiter. However, I don't know if it's as bad as other folks make it. I think it's honestly just because there's a place he's coming from that he's trying to appease the national legacy media and then also trying to do his own thing. And bottom line is this: look, you can't do both. You're not going to be able to please the national media and then be able to do your own things and say what the fuck it is you want to say, right? You got to pick one. You got to pick one lane and go or go in the other lane. You're not going to be able to ride in both lanes forever. And that's what's starting to happen as you constantly see him in the news for some controversial statement and then having to apologize for it. Now, the one we're going to discuss today, I'm actually going to defend him on this one because he had mentioned, so there was a debate or a clip that went viral with him and Peter, starts with an S. I can't tell you. I don't want to mispronounce his last name because that has happened to me. But he's a regular on NFL Network. I think he does some great reporting, great analytical work. I think he is actually someone that is a benefit to the game and knows his stuff and all that kind of stuff. Again, not doubting any of his ability to talk football and run a show. Those folks who never played the game of football, they're absolutely 100% needed in the game or needed in the media game. I'm going to give them that. However, what Ryan Clark said to him was not that big of a deal. All right, it was not that big of a deal because of what. And again, I don't even blame Peter for even it being told to him, because what they were talking about was so fucking stupid. It makes no sense that the next morning. This is why I don't watch ESPN when it comes to football. I did not watch. Thank God I didn't watch the whole thing. I only caught the clip that went viral. But the problem was the fact that these two are arguing about CeeDee Lamb and A.J. Brown, two wide receivers, and the fact that they're arguing about who had the better day, none of that shit fucking matters. At the end of the day, the Cowboys lost and the Eagles won. Period, point blank, end of sentence. And it wasn't because of A.J. Brown or CeeDee Lamb. It was all because, and again, I could tell you this directly, because in every football game, you're going to see the team that wins is normally the teams that dominate, the team that dominates on the line of scrimmage, the team that can control the game with the run, the team that can stop the run and not necessarily depend so much on the passing game, which the receivers are a part of, right? So when Ryan Clark says to him, look, that's the non-player in you, the fact that you're even having this discussion and the fact that this conversation is even happening, in my opinion, based on the clip that I saw, I think Ryan Clark was saying, look, you didn't play the game. So at the end of the day, you don't really understand. Look, all these players want to do, if you're going to get to that level, they want to fucking win. All right? They want to win. They want to win the game. If CeeDee Lamb goes out there and catches 0 balls and the Cowboys still win, he doesn't give a fuck. If A.J. Brown goes out there and catches 1,000 balls and they still lose, he won't give a fuck. They lost. At the end of the day, these wide receivers, I don't care who they are, they want to win if they're going to stay around. If the team loses, don't give a shit about what you did and what you didn't do. Now, if you drop the pass that could have put them in a situation to win, like CeeDee Lamb did and all that kind of stuff, yeah, that's what's bothering them. But to be arguing about what receiver had a better day and all that kind of stuff, that's what I took it as. Now, again, I don't know the full context, and maybe I can be getting something wrong here. But the bottom line is, when you play the game, the only thing that really matters at the end of the day is who won. And if you want to stay in an NFL locker room when it comes to men and how they, this is their livelihood and how they feed their families and how they pay their bills and all that stuff. At the end of the day, if you're in that locker room and you ain't trying to, now again, go get your man on, go, do your thing and then dance with it and all that. At the end of the day, if your bottom line is not about winning the game, then you don't belong in an NFL locker room. Forget the NFL. You don't belong in a football locker room, period. You need to want to win and not be worrying about your fucking stats and all this prima donna bullshit that the media and the fantasy football world just absolutely eats up. This is why I don't watch this bullshit ESPN. You know, again, I'm the person that, hey, is talking about the game in the way the game needs to be talked about. All right, you know, I'm rambling now. All that being said, main website to check out to dive deeper into all the work I do. It's makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYamove.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker.
You can check it out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We'll talk more. So good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day you may be consuming this. As one Crookshank here again, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, soon to be 6-time published author and educator. If you're new around here, the whole Move Swiftly platform, the whole Move Swiftly business is all about taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and aligning them, applying them to businesses and business owners or business owners, so they have a staff and or a group of employees that moves as efficiently and as cohesively and has that passion, has that dog, has that mentality of a championship high school or youth football team. And as you just heard, we're on one today. We are in another Win-Trapreneur Wednesday, and I will get to the definition of a Win-Trapreneur in just a moment. Let me just kind of walk you through a little bit of what I just said on the Move Swiftly Thought, or what you just heard on the Move Swiftly Thought, and then get through some announcements, and then we'll jump into the article where I'm going to walk you through why this specific topic, this specific thing that came up with Ryan Clark and the gentleman Peter. Again, I don't want to mispronounce his last name because I do have a great deal of respect for the work that he does. I have to take Ryan Clark's side when it comes to that because he said it in a very delicate way. And again, I'm normally not the person that's defending Ryan Clark. In fact, I mean, ever since the RG3 debacle, I just think he's reaching. But at the end of the day, when you've played the game, other people who've played and they see other people who've played, there's a respect factor that's there because you've actually gone through it. And I can respect the fact that Ryan Clark said it to my man very delicately. He goes, respectfully, that's the non-player in you. And if he would have let him finish, he probably would have delicately explained to him, look, as a player, you're waking up the next morning and say, my team lost. All right, because you know winning is what is going to keep the team together. Winning is what keeps our jobs, us winning as a unit. I don't care how many stats I got, what I can do from a fantasy football standpoint. The fantasy football thing is not paying me. Who's paying me is an owner, coach, who is paying the team to win. And if we don't win, the team gets broken up. That's the way a player thinks. All right. That's the way someone who's actually played the game and is coaching the game. They think in terms of the W and the L. This is why it's the perfect topic for today, because as Win-Trapreneurs, right, as a Win-Trapreneur Wednesday, as a Win-Trapreneur tip, your whole thinking, everything, your entire mentality has to be about how do we win as a team, not how does CeeDee Lamb go out and catch 100 yards or 100 passes, or not is AJ Brown, racking up a bunch of yak yards for this fantasy football bullshit. No, it's how do we win as a team, and you win as a team by building a foundation, having solid systems, expecting things, measurables, all those kinds of things is how you win as a team. So all that being said, let me get through a few announcements that we're going to jump into the article today, which is I'm going to walk you through it was not this weekend, but the previous weekend for Labor Day weekend. Me and my girl, we drove out to Key Largo to visit the Big Chill. All right, the Big Chill, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. And man, it was great. I'm going to walk you through the story later, but I called her and I was like, yo, I just realized that I've been in Florida all this time and I have yet to visit Key Largo, the Big Chill with Jimmy Johnson, legendary coach. And we watched the Miami Hurricane game, the Hurricane versus Notre Dame game there. And Jimmy Johnson was on TV and he was pumping up the crowd. In fact, the thumbnail. Let me see if I can pull up the thumbnail real quick for you guys. It was an absolute great time. Let me see if I can pull up the thumbnail. Here it is. Oh, hold on. Let me give me 1 second. Let me pull up the thumbnail for you guys, because it was and I think my thumbnail guy did a great job with this one. Let me pull it up. Give it a second. It's loading now, right here. Yeah, right there. You see me there, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, and this was on TV when we were watching. And then the Hurricanes, there was other Hurricane fans there. It was a great, great time. So I'm going to walk you through my experience there on Labor Day. It was Labor Day. It was Sunday. It was Sunday night when they played that game. So we'll walk you through that and explain to you again what he did, because what I do in order to get ready for these features is I'll go back and I'll re-watch certain things. So I went back and re-watched The Football Life with Jimmy Johnson, and went back and listened to some of his interviews and how the Big Chill started and who he served and all that stuff. I do my research when I come on here and speak, so I can speak knowledgeably about things, and it's a written format. That's part of the systems that are created here in the Move Swiftly on the Move Swiftly platform. Now, actually, you know what? Before we get in there, because I'm gonna start talking too much, let me just get through 2 announcements real quick, and then we'll jump into the article. All right. So, as far as business owners, as you can see, I'm here to serve you, here to make it so you have something. You have a cohesive staff, as you see right there on the screen. Very first step that you need to take is go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. That is freeguide.makeyourmove.com. We work from a very, very simple formula around here. It's number 1, establishing measurables. Number 2, creating a professional distance, and allowing those 2 things to be the thing that creates a productive environment. You need those 2 things. There's no other blueprint. Measurables, a professional distance, and that being the productive environment that you need. All right. Create a very easy to understand 10-step process. Just go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. Now, for the folks that we love around here, we love the most around here, the folks that say bump all that free stuff as one. Tell me exactly who I got to pay, how I got to pay, how do I pay you to come into my business and my establishment and help my employees develop the mindset that you have. I want them to know how to move swiftly. I want them to know the measures. I want them to be passionate about what they do. I want them to wake up every morning and go after it. I want them to take the initiative. I want them to do all the great things that you do. Great. Love you folks. We work for you guys. All right. We do what we do for you guys. All right. MakeYourMove.com is the main website to check all that out. Just hit the shop now button. You can get some more information on my books. You can inquire about the workshops and how they work. There's some merch. There's some boxing lessons that I do offer for anyone out here in the West Palm Beach area. Turn your business into a championship team. It is common knowledge. That the best way to win in business or in life is by avoiding ways to lose. Whether you've just started a new business or you've been in business for quite some time, there's no getting around the need to hire or outsource certain elements of your organization so things can run as efficiently as possible. When you book your meeting with Aswan, he'll diagnose what the issues are with your current system and then strategically create a system in which will lead to a reduced amount of turnover or a clear understanding of the parts of your business that need to be outsourced. All right, so that was that for the announcements. Again, make sure you do that, especially if it's your first time tuning in and you are struggling with turnover. The entire framework, the entire business, the entire thing that I do around here is channeled and geared towards making it so the people that you have on your team, you are figuring out, again, are they willing to grow? Are they willing to learn? Are they willing to take the initiative? Are they people that you can work with? Or are they in positions where you need to remove them and outsource a better situation? It's either you're getting better or you're getting worse every single day. You're not going to stay in between. You're not going to stay in between. Hear me, hear me, hear me. You're not going to stay in between. You're not going to just roll this wave and just stay in between, which is what the world likes to sell. You're either going to get better or you're going to get worse. You got to make the decision to intentionally get better every single day. So all that being said, let's jump into the article today. As I sort of started to mention, we're talking all about we're going to use Jimmy Johnson as an example. All right, we're going to use Jimmy Johnson as an example, but it's more so about an experience that I was able to not only have for myself, but I was also able to provide for my girl as well, who, as you know, as we've been together for quite some time now, she's learning, hey, this whole football thing, this whole sports thing that I'm absolutely psychotically obsessed with is bigger than just some surface level game that a lot of people talk about. It's actually something that there's a lot of lessons to be learned. There's a lot of leadership lessons, there's a lot of teaching tools. There's a lot of things that are crossing over in terms of how do I lead better? How do I work better? How do I develop? How do I, look at where I'm at now, use the game, use what I see people doing and going through in the game and applying it to my life so I can just improve and improve and improve, so I can see the constant growth and development of people. There's so many lessons in that. So I remember it was must have been earlier that week on Labor Day. I FaceTime her. I'm like, yo, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. We gotta make this happen. We gotta make this happen. And again, I'll get into it in the article, but she said yes. We went, and then, again, had a great time in Key Largo. She introduced me to some key lime pie, which was great. So it's a great, quick getaway and stuff like that. So all that being said, let's just jump into the article today. So Win-Trapreneur Wednesday, Jimmy Johnson, the boss energy, and what the Big Chill taught me about leadership. So there I was right there. Look at it. Man, that boy was clean. That boy was clean. I'm telling you, see, that's the thing. Me being the sport and fitness guy, I barely dress up. I hate shopping for clothes. I'm not that dude. I mean, I used to be back in middle school and all that, but when you go to a private school, high school, and you have to wear uniforms and all that, you just start to realize shopping for clothes really, it's not at least for me, it wasn't a productive usage of time and all that. But I tell you, when I clean up, when a brother cleans up nice, it's gonna hurt somebody. You could hurt somebody real quick. Oh man. Anyway, that was me really pumped because I was there. And when you see one of us, when you see a former football coach, jumping in the business world, making stuff happen, it is absolutely rewarding for me because, again, football is where I got my identity. Football is where I got my acceptance. So when you see one of the coaches doing great things in the business world, you just, again, you just have pride, you enjoy it. And it's something that it's very, very rewarding to be a part of. So experiencing it was a great, great deal. So anyway, it's Wednesday. And if you've been rocking with the Move Swiftly platform for a while, you already know what that means. Welcome to another Win-Trapreneur Wednesday, a term I coined to highlight those of us who've been blessed with a weekly paycheck and a vision to build something greater than just a job. This week, we're tipping our hat to a living legend in the football world, a Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, and straight up about leadership model, Jimmy Johnson. But this isn't a story about rings and wins, all right? And he's had, he's won Super Bowl, he's won championships at every level. He won at the college level, and then he's won in the NFL as well. So we can just talk about the rings, but we're not going to talk too much about the rings today and the wins. This is about what it felt like to walk into his restaurant, to soak in the vibe, and to realize that investing in yourself pays off in ways you never expect. All right. So I didn't mention this before. This all week, again, if you're new around here and if you want to go back and listen to it, because I'm still debating on if I should keep the recap episodes on Thursdays, if I should get right into what we're going to be doing this week. And maybe tomorrow I'll talk a little bit about because I'm a huge Redskins fan, Commanders fan, so they're playing tomorrow. So I'm still kind of debating on whether we're going to do that, but I'll just recap it real quick right now. Is all week we've been talking about how to reinvest in yourself and making sure you're setting up systems and setting up boundaries and setting up situations in which all the money that you make in some way is being reinvested in yourself. So you constantly see a return, and you see, the work and the hard work and your labor and all that. You start to see the fruits of your labor start growing and building in you. And Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill was a great example of that. And it's one of the things that made me think of what the theme is going to be this week. So Labor Day weekend in Key Largo and a spur-of-the-moment move. So it was Labor Day weekend of 2025. I was casually scrolling. I was scrolling, I think it was Resort Pass, actually. Yeah, so shout out to Resort Pass. Resort Pass is what I was thinking because, again, it's Labor Day weekend, and she had mentioned doing a day pass. Again, we're in South Florida, so it's very possible to do like a staycation. People just come out here for vacation. So if you live out here in South Florida, it's everything. There's you can always find something to do. You can always find some vacation spot. So anyway, Labor Day weekend, Key Largo, and a spur of the moment move. So it's Labor Day weekend of 2025. I was casually scrolling, looking for something meaningful to do. Then bam, I stumbled across Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill in Key Largo. I called my girlfriend on FaceTime like a kid. Yeah, this is actually what happened. Yeah, I call her on FaceTime like a kid who had just found Disney World and was giving away free tickets. This was me. This is a true story. She was that type of person that speaks on camera and all that, but that's not her. Then she would tell you the same thing. I called her like I'm one of her kids and stuff, like really excited, like I just found Disney World and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, hey man, we got to check this place out. We got to check this place out. And she hit me for the simple, supportive, okay, we'll go. And the next thing you know, we're heading down to the Key. So what followed was an experience I'll never forget, not just because of the views, which were great, the key lime pie or the energy of the weekend, but because the next morning, the University of Miami was playing Notre Dame. So if you know football history, you know the matchups that scream Catholics versus convicts. There's a whole ESPN documentary. I'll show you guys right here. There's an ESPN documentary called Catholics versus Convicts. So that was actually revitalized. It was revitalized on Labor Day weekend. So it was the Sunday night where Miami played Notre Dame. This was like notorious. Like this is a big game. And I'm here at Jimmy Johnson's place watching that game, be revitalized. And again, she's looking at me who like not a football person, just like, okay, I guess. And so anyway, the Hurricanes, a team Jimmy Johnson once led to a national championship, were back under the lights. And here I was in his restaurant, living out the kind of moment you don't plan, you just feel. So why Jimmy Johnson? Why this feature? All right, let's run you through his resume real quick. And I'm just going to put you through his resume and give you a very clear understanding of how Win-Trapreneurship works. All right, you have these known entities, whether it's the University of Miami, as you see on the screen, the Dallas Cowboys, Pro Football Hall of Fame, NFL Fox, all those things, but you're still building something on the side. You're working with organizations, you're working with major organizations to go build what it is you want to build. That takes focus, that takes confidence, that takes a level of support and putting the right people around you to make it so you can actually do these things. All right, so let me read it to you directly. So why Jimmy? Let me show you here. Good. All right, why Jimmy Johnson? Why this feature? Let's run you through his resume real quick. Head coach at the University of Miami, winning a national championship in 1987. Head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, leading them to 2 Super Bowl titles. Member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, longtime NFL Fox Sunday analyst, and a respected voice in broadcasting. You can go Google his full bio whenever it is you want at your leisure, right? So the man's a winner. But what stood out most wasn't just his accolades. It's what I learned about him in a YouTube documentary I rewatched before writing this. All right. If you go and watch A Football Life, well, actually, let me not play too much of it. I don't want to get demonetized. But if you go watch A Football Life by Jimmy Johnson, he was talking to Bill Belichick and Jason Garrett. No, I think it was just Bill Belichick, and he was telling him a story about former head coach for the Dallas Cowboys, Jason Garrett, who's now actually in the media as well. But Jason Garrett was his, I think he was like his third string or second string. I think he was his backup to Troy Aikman. So Troy Aikman was his guy, a fellow Hall of Famer, Troy Aikman, who's also on Fox doing the broadcast. He's been doing that for years. He's one of the top dogs in the game now. But Jason Garrett was Jimmy Johnson's backup. So before Jason Garrett got into TV, Jason Garrett spent a lot of time. I mean, he's known for being the Dallas Cowboys head coach. And to be honest with you, me being a Redskins fan, I thought Jason Garrett, for the most part, did a decent job. But it's the Dallas Cowboys, and they're not patient. They're not patient at all when it comes to wins and losing playoffs games. They don't their standard is a little different. They're a different brand when it comes to Jerry Jones and all that. And we're gonna actually discuss a little bit about that tomorrow when I talk about the Commanders and all that. But anyway, during the the documentary, Jimmy Johnson was talking to Bill Belichick about the advice he gave Jason Garrett as becoming the head coach for Dallas, and he said to him, "Look, now, matter of fact, I'll just read it to you directly. That was a good intro to just read this directly. So, from employee to boss and the shift in mentality. All right." In the documentary, Jimmy breaks down one of the realest transitions anyone can make, going from being just a guy to becoming the boss. Here it is. Here is where there's a connection between what you learn in the game and then what you can apply to the business world. So this is him. This is what he said directly in the documentary that you can go watch on your own at your own time. So when you're just an employee, people don't care about what you think. But when you're the boss, everyone wants to be stroked and told they're doing a good job. Let it sit for a second, all right? Let it sit, because he said it in a little more colorful language. And, as you can see, he was out fishing and, he's relaxed and all that. He walked Bill Belichick through it, and this is what got caught on camera. He goes, "Look, Jason Garrett, you can walk around that Dallas Cowboy when you were just a backup to Troy Aikman, when you were just a backup quarterback to Troy Aikman, or let's say you were just the assistant coach," because he was just an assistant coach. I think it was, who was he an assistant coach for? It was, if I'm not mistaken, it was Wade Phillips was before Jason Garrett. Let me look at something real quick. I think it was Wade Phillips. Dallas Cowboys head coaches. I believe it was, Jason, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, it was Wade Phillips, right? Yep, got it right. See? Wade Phillips. So Wade Phillips was the coach, was the coach before Jason Garrett. And Wade Phillips, I remember the night he got fired. It was an absolute ass kicking that he took by the Green Bay Packers, and it was a late night game, nationally televised, the whole thing, and it was a straight up beatdown. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Chris Collins working to Al Michaels, one of them on the broadcast, and they're like, "Look, I don't think he's gonna make it past tonight." So because it was an ass beating. So anyway, they make Jason Garrett the head coach, and Jimmy Johnson was telling them, "Look, you can walk in that office, walk around the Dallas Cowboy facility and all that, and no one gives a shit who you are. No one, you could walk right by people. They don't give a damn what you do, who you're about, your Troy Aikman's backup. I don't care what Jason Garrett thinks. The minute you get that head coach title now, every single person in that building wants to be stroked and told they're doing a good job." That's a complete shift. That right there. That's something right there you need to take away as a business owner. The second folks find out what you do and what your title is and what you're all about, all of a sudden now the whole world is changing, because now people are going to be this is something I'm not telling you this as a person that's not living through it himself. I'm living through exactly what I'm talking about myself. The reason I have to do these recordings here is because of this very thing I'm talking to you about. The minute you become a quote unquote boss in their eyes, even if you don't even consider yourself a boss, the minute you become someone with some rank, the minute you become recognized for this and you get whatever promotion that was given to you, now everybody around you just start changing. People just start changing up on you, and you got to be ready for that. And they want to be told that they're doing a great job. They want to be given the security that you can give them just based on what you say. So you got to let that marinate, and you got to shift the mentality based on that in itself. So that quote stuck with me hard, because as I looked around his restaurant, so this happened, and just so some context here, on the way from, we were from, Fort Lauderdale. So on the way from Fort Lauderdale all the way to Key Largo, towards the end, I played that last 10 minutes for my girl was doing the car. So she was, prepped, and I was prepped in terms of the experience that we were going to get at the Big Chill, right? So that quote stuck with me hard, because as I looked around his restaurant, it felt like the same philosophy had been cooked into the operation itself. Hear me. You see the italicized cooked right here? That same philosophy had been cooked into the operation itself. Understand why I'm using the word cooked here, all right? So at the Big Chill, there wasn't some strict waiter to a table assignment. This wasn't the way it worked. It wasn't like we sat down and, okay, we have one waiter, and we went there twice. We went there for lunch, we then checked in, and then we went back there for dinner to watch the game. So it wasn't like there was one waiter to a table assignment. You ordered from whoever was available, and still everything came out timely. What that told me, here's what it told me, all right? Because as a person, I had a cup of coffee in the restaurant, the sports bar industry. I was doing something in that industry because I wanted to get people from the bar to the gym and all that. And again, a story I've probably told on here before, but I can retell it at another time. But the kitchen was elite. All right, so the fact that there was no waiter to a table, whoever was available, you just ordered and the food comes out in a timely fashion. This is what it told me. The kitchen was elite. The system was tight, and the focus was on the core, not the fluff. Here's what I mean by that. Meaning, when you are putting up your own money to open up this restaurant, he's saying to himself, I don't care. The waiters and the waitresses, they're interchangeable. They can come in and out. They're like the wide receivers. They're, great athletes. They're replaceable. But the kitchen is like that old defensive line, to where the food needs to be out in a timely fashion, and they need to know their stuff. Like offensive and defensive linemen are much more important to grab before you go and try to go get a bunch of receivers that are going to be able to be replaced. Can't replace great offensive and defensive linemen, period, point blank, end of sentence. In the kitchen is that foundation. What we call them here is the front team. That's what the FT stands for in the here in the Move Swiftly world. All right, so that's leadership, that's culture. That's what happened when the boss invests in the right people and the right priorities, folks. The right priorities is absolutely where you need to be, absolutely what you need to be taken away from this very article. All right, now as I close, I'm going to close you guys out soon. So the football parallel, earn your spot every day. This entire experience reminded me of what players say about Jimmy Johnson all the time. And if you go back and listen to what the players have said about him, if you played for him, you had one job: show up, ready, or get left behind. Now, of course, core guys, the Troy Aikman, the Michael Irvins, and the Emmitt Smiths of the world, they had their spots locked in. But for everybody else, practice was your resume. He didn't play favorites. He played winners, and he made sure you knew that your investment in preparation, not politics, determine your future. So, final word: build your big chill. Look, you may not own a beachfront restaurant or coach Hall of Famers to Super Bowl wins, but you've got your version of the big chill to build. With whether it's the brand you're launching, the students you're mentoring, the business you're leading, or the family you're providing for, the same principles apply. Set a high standard, invest in your kitchen, right? Your core people, create the systems, not the flash. Show up daily like a boss. Jimmy Johnson did it on the field. He did it in broadcasting, and now he's doing it with food and hospitality. The lesson: once you've learned how to lead, you can take that game anywhere. So what are you building, and more importantly, who's in your kitchen? Let's keep showing up. Let's keep lifting each other up, and let's keep moving swiftly. Oh, the mic is dropping, folks. The mic is dropping. Man, I'm telling. Listen, man. And the thing is, when it crosses over, and wait till, because I already have it in my head who I'm going to be talking about next week. I don't want to say it now, but when you are in my perspective in the world I'm in, it's such an inspiration. That's something that was a spur of the moment thing that, hey, we didn't really have plans like that for Labor Day, or didn't really overly plan anything. But when the plans do happen and they turn out great the way they turn out, it's an absolute pleasure, and it was fun. But this is the way I live my life, and I encourage you all to figure out ways in which you can live your life in this way, where there is a sense that you're always thinking, you're always note-taking, you're always doing something that's going to provide. All right. That's what inspires people. That's what makes people want to work with you. That's what makes people want to be around you and grab some of your energy and learn your opinions. That's what it's all about. Not about the CeeDee Lamb wake up excited because of something over whatever they were talking about. AJ Brown again. You see how much that doesn't make sense that they're even having that conversation now that you realize what the game is supposed to represent. All right. So again, all that being said, I'll probably, as I'm thinking now, probably talk a little bit more about the Commanders versus Packers tomorrow, because my team is going to be a Thursday night game, as opposed to doing a recap episode. If you are interested in hearing more about what we discussed all week in terms of reinvesting in yourself, just go back to Make Your Move Monday, Top 5 Tuesday, and Win-Trapreneur Wednesday to get the recap of everything. And main website to check out, to dive deeper into all the work I'm about, is makeyourmove.com. That's MAKEYAMOVE.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one, Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Check it out. If you guys continue to move swiftly, we will talk more soon.